Good, happy Friday morning, November 15, 2019. I'm Riley King, and welcome to the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. We have a lot of news to get to for this Friday morning, so let's begin. First up, fire tears through Wilmont warehouse. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Mike Cronin.
Burst out the door when it matters most. For more than a decade, he's been right there, everywhere. And when American jobs are on the line, he leads the charge. ABC's World News Tonight with David Muir is America's most watched newscast, and we thank you.
Showed the flames earlier today, destroying a storage building in Wilmont.
On first arrival, the building was heavily involved.
Hours later, firefighters mopped up hot spots and an excavator was brought in to take down the charred remains of a warehouse owned by Floorcraft. The family-owned and operated flooring store has been in business for more than 27 years. The fire did not impact its primary facility. Crews struck 4 alarms, bringing in help from surrounding communities.
The response from all of our mutual aid companies was amazing, and obviously in an event like this, you need to pull the resources from all over, and they responded in force.
Nobody was inside the building, and no one was hurt. Firefighters had to consider the cold while battling the fire.
Our concern, obviously, is keeping the road sanded. A lot of water, as you can see. It's starting to get a little cold, so it's icing up. So that's really the only concern now. And we want to get traffic back open as quickly as we could.
The State Fire Marshal's office was also on scene this afternoon as investigators try to figure out a cause. In Wilmont, Mike Cronin, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Deadline to file for First in the Nation primary is today. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Gene Mackin.
The basic idea is we take a version of Medicare, we make it available for anybody who wants it, but if for some reason you prefer a different plan, that's okay. I'm not going to make you switch. And I just think that's better than saying you've got to do Medicare whether you want to or not.
One day before the deadline, Democrat Deval Patrick officially became a presidential candidate. The former Massachusetts governor paid a visit to the New Hampshire Secretary of State, paid his $1,000, and signed up, admitting he's late stepping onto the campaign trail here.
I have some strong ideas, and I have some big plans. But I want to be open to good ideas that come from other places, people who agree, and maybe even some who don't.
On the Republican side, former Illinois Congressman Joe Walsh filed. The Tea Party conservative says he wants voters to reject the president as the only possible Republican candidate.
I wouldn't think about doing this if it wasn't Donald Trump. It's about Trump. He is a danger to this country. We have to do better.
Now the clock is ticking to get on the ticket. After a busy 2.5-week filing window, a parade of primary candidates, their primary supporters, and all that primary press. In the end, there will likely be around 15 to 20 Republicans and 30 Democrats on the final First in the Nation ballots. Cory Booker plans to be one of the last names added, filing first thing Friday morning.
We saw the hallways filled. We saw the lawn of the State House. Most of the major candidates have had a good showing. Now we have to really get down to business. This is when people really start paying attention.
And tomorrow is the only day the Secretary of State's office stays open, a half hour late just in case there are last-minute filers. The doors officially close on filing season here in New Hampshire tomorrow night at 5 p.m. Live at the State House in Concord tonight, Jean Mackin, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. So today is the last day. And now let's take a look at your 2020 New Hampshire candidate tracker today. Let's take a look and see which candidates are in New Hampshire today. We have 2 candidates today in New Hampshire. The first candidate, Michael Bennett. He has 2 events today in New Hampshire. His first event, attending New Hampshire Institute of Politics Student Ambassador monthly meeting at St. Anselm College in Manchester, New Hampshire at 3 p.m. His second event, house party in Nashua, New Hampshire at 6 p.m. Cory Booker is also in New Hampshire today. His first event, rally in filing for the New Hampshire primary in Concord, New Hampshire at 8:30 a.m. And his second event, meet and greet at the Coffee Factory in Derry, New Hampshire at 11:15 a.m. Those are the 2 candidates in New Hampshire today. Exeter Hospital officials seek meeting with AG over partnership plan. AG's office objects to affiliation with 2 other hospitals. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Jean Mackin. Sorry, Jennifer Crompton. Sorry about that. Here's Jennifer Crompton now with the report.
Exeter Hospital is pressing forward with a proposed affiliation with Wentworth Douglas and Mass General Hospitals, despite an objection from the Attorney General citing potential antitrust concerns. But the hospital says no is not enough and is now launching a public campaign to get the AG to meet and discuss ways to move forward.
We want the state officials to know there's more than one issue here on the table. The future of the healthcare that our patients have is really at stake here.
The AG saying today their deliberations are ongoing and they will not hesitate to use enforcement tools to preserve competition and to protect the public from escalating healthcare costs. But Exeter Hospital calls the affiliation critical to the long-term sustainability of not-for-profit healthcare on the seacoast.
Not only can we do more in terms of providing services, enhanced services like adding potentially a level 2 nursery here, which is missing from the state, but also putting on the table millions of dollars of new investments in community-based mental health and behavioral health services.
He points to benefits Wentworth Douglas has already realized.
They've expanded services, brought more clinical competencies, recruited more specialists, added over 300 jobs. There's a real impact that this affiliation could have on this community, and if it doesn't go forward, all that will be missed.
Exeter Hospital wants the chance to talk to the Attorney General's office about what's at stake if the affiliation doesn't happen, and it needs the public's help to raise their voices to encourage that meeting.
Then we're hoping that they reach out to their senators, we're hoping they reach out to their legislators, we hope they reach out to the governor in particular, and to the Attorney General's office to say, we want you guys to sit down and have a dialogue.
In Exeter, Jennifer Crompton, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Animal Rescue League of New Hampshire seeks donations for 7 German Shepherds with leg issues. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Siobhan Lopez.
November is cab month at your My Hidra tractor dealer. Get special cabs.
No doubt about it, these dogs are friendly.
Behavior-wise, these dogs are fantastic.
But take a close look at how the 7-month-old German Shepherds walk. It's painful for them to extend their joints.
Their orthopedic issues are pretty severe. They are life-altering for these guys.
The Animal Rescue League of New Hampshire recently received the 7 dogs from a breeder who was dealing with health issues of their own and couldn't care for the dogs any longer.
I hate to use the term overwhelmed because we try not to use that, but we're overwhelmed at this point. We want to help them all. We want to give them all a chance, but financially we just can't do that without help.
It is unprecedented for the shelter to receive an entire litter all dealing with the same issue. They say it could be a mix of genetics and the environment they were raised in.
They're not able to move the way a normal dog moves, so in order to get them to be in the least amount of pain, surgery will be able to help with that.
To make sure your donation helps these specific dogs, when you head to rescueleague.org and click donate, be sure to specify Shepherd medical needs.
The goal is to get them better and eventually adopted into loving homes. Some are not as severe as others and may not require surgery. The Animal Rescue League is willing to work with anyone interested in the possibility of adopting and taking on a challenging case, knowing that these dogs may never walk normally again. In Bedford, Siobhan Lopez, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. U.S. features point to higher open. U.S. stock index were higher Friday morning. At least 2 dead at California school shooting. Let's take a listen to that video from ABC News.
Good evening. It is great to have you with us here on a very busy Thursday night, and we begin tonight with the news that broke again today. A deadly school shooting. This time, police say a student on his 16th birthday opening fire on fellow students in Santa Clarita, California, north of Los Angeles. At least 2 dead tonight. Authorities say the teen gunman opened fire at Saugus High School during what's called the zero period, about an hour before classes began. After barricading themselves inside, students were then brought out in long lines led by heavily armed police. Parents holding their children, and tonight the text messages so many children sent while they were hiding. The suspect, who police say shot himself, is now in custody, and news tonight on the students who did not survive. ABC's chief national correspondent Matt Gutman leads us off from the scene.
It was just before 8 a.m. this morning at this school north of Los Angeles when police say the teen walked up carrying a backpack and opened fire.
We've got an active shooter at Saugus High School. We need all units to respond.
Dozens of cruisers and SWAT teams racing to the Saugus High School in Santa Clarita. Students were congregating in the quad right near the entrance when the alleged gunman, also a student, approached and opened fire.
Detectives have reviewed the video at the scene, which clearly show the subject in the quad withdraw a handgun from his backpack, shoot and wound 5 people, and then shoot himself in the head,
killing a 14-year-old boy and a 16-year-old girl. And officials say today was the suspect's 16th birthday.
I have one down inside the office, and I need paramedics right now.
First responders racing the wounded to ambulances. Some of the 2,000 students there barricading rooms with chairs. Others running for their lives.
We heard what sounded like binders dropping, because that happens, or a birthday balloon popping, especially by the library where it echoes. But then there was still something in our gut that told us that it was wrong.
That doesn't sound exactly like a balloon.
So everyone went quiet, and then we heard two more. And that's when
we're like, this is not okay. Something is wrong. This is not normal.
Yeah.
And then another pause, and 3 more, and that's when
we grabbed our friends and we just ran.
I just yelled at my teacher. I said, we got to lock the doors right now.
17-year-old Hayden Trowbridge's parents have been preparing him for this since he was 4 years old, he said.
I did have my water bottle just in case, because it's like a deadly weapon.
Choir teacher Caitlin Holt finding herself doing triage in her classroom.
I just put whatever I could on it, like tissues and stuff, and had another student hold pressure. And then we kind of laid her down, and she was very responsive.
K-9 units checking abandoned backpacks for possible additional weapons or devices. Hundreds of students let out with heavy security some with their hands in the air.
You can see how many fire crews and rescue crews and police officers are behind me. Dozens and dozens here, including SWAT teams at the school, and parents and others just standing by, just waiting to pick up the last of the kids.
My daughter texted me saying, "I love you, Mom. I hope I get to see you again." So yeah, it was heartbreaking.
And amidst the swarm of rescuers and journalists were parents. Hands on mouths, faces streaked with tears.
My hands were shaking. I was crying. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to do. Do I go to work? Do I turn around?
Waiting for what seemed like an eternity for news and for those embraces.
As parents, you go to work every day to provide for these kids, and the last thing you want to hear is they've taken a bullet. They're just kids trying to get an education.
In the aftermath, outside the suspect's house, police taking up positions. Guns drawn, peering through the window with automatic weapons.
Watching those parents hug their children yet again. Matt Gutman joining us live tonight from the scene. And Matt, what do we know about the alleged shooter?
David, that suspect is in the hospital and in critical condition. Now, we are told by authorities he was a troubled young man. His father died 2 years ago of a heart attack, and they are now interviewing his mother and an ex-girlfriend who are apparently cooperating. Investigators are also looking into an Instagram post that he apparently posted last night saying, "Saugus, have a fun day at school tomorrow." David,
we're thinking about all the victims' families tonight. Matt Gutman leading us off. Matt, thank you.
Hi, everyone. George.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And that does it for this morning edition of the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you back here later on today for another newscast. And I'll have a news report coming up in a little bit. Goodbye, everyone.